Hello, everybody. Welcome to our group presentation on integrated unit planning. Our group consists of Allison, Charlene, Jennifer, April, Ian, Melissa, and myself, Anika. To start, I'd like you to take a few minutes and watch this video that overviews what integrated studies entail.
$360 times 2.
Public education in America hasn't changed much since it began in the mid-19th century, with a curriculum adopted from Prussia that featured reading, writing, and arithmetic, taught in separate periods, ruled by the clock.
In schools, subjects tend to be hermetically sealed off from each other. So you do science on a Thursday morning, you do math in the afternoons. And this is really a feature of education, because outside of education, people know naturally that all these things flow in and out of each other, that disciplines affect each other.
All these digital photographs actually fill in the missing parts.
We don't live in an industrial economy anymore. We live in a knowledge economy, and so we have to think about education in a fundamentally different way.
Look where the water's falling.
We can't be focusing on basic facts and basic skills. We have to think about ways of thinking that are going to matter more than what we do in traditional schools right now.
You want to be a photojournalist? Oh, all right.
One successful approach to curriculum design is integrated studies, which blends various subjects and brings them into meaningful association, often through projects. Integration provides students with a depth and breadth of understanding that goes beyond individual subject matter knowledge.
It's called the circumference of the circle. So when you measure around.
At Ferryway School, the Ironworks project, which is a collaborative effort of a dozen teachers, integrates math,
maybe 2 millimeters,
art, English, history, and science.
What's this simple machine right here? Wheel and axle, right.
The project's not just about the water wheel, it's not just about the Saugus Ironworks. It's about all of the subject areas being brought together, the rocks and minerals, the simple machines, the technology concepts.
Right-click.
Brain research supports the notion that learning increases when information is presented in meaningful, connected patterns.
It looks like shiny metal. If you're in different classes, you sometimes forget because your mind's on one class and then you have to be focused on another class. But when it's all together, you could just focus on one thing because it's all the same.
Success in integrated studies requires flexibility in scheduling and collaboration among teachers. Studies show that benefits include a sense of teamwork, a faster retrieval of information, and higher attendance and homework completion.
Here we go.
Often you don't have the chance to show kids that education is real, that there's value to it, and they get a chance to put that all together. And it's just wonderful seeing their enthusiasm, and the teachers too. It's not easy, but we know what the benefits are, so that's why we do it.
We have a lift!
For more information on what works in public education, go to edutopia.org.
An integrated unit plan is built around a common theme. It includes a minimum of 2 academic subjects that are combined with at least one art subject area, creating cross-curricular connections. For example, a unit could be created on the life cycle of a butterfly and contain curricular content from science, math, English language arts, and arts education. Teacher collaboration is an essential part of integrated unit planning. As future teachers, we all understand that our students will be diverse in their strengths and abilities. The same can be said about us. Collaborating with our peers allows for contribution of multiple strength areas, ultimately enhancing the quality of lessons that are presented to the students. Our fellow teacher candidates will overview the 4 main steps to follow in creating an integrated unit plan. Step 1. Establish learning goals. Step 2. Generate a theme. Step 3. brainstorm activities and create a timeline. Step 4, evaluate the unit. Allison is going to start by sharing the details of Step 1, identifying, creating, and sharing learning goals.
Hi, I'm Allison. I will be speaking about the Step 1, which is learning goals in the integrated unit planning. So the first step in the process of designing an integrated unit plan is to identify the learning goals. The teacher must first determine whether they will work alone or in teams and then proceed through the steps of design. When brainstorming with the team or alone, it is good practice to aim for 5 to 15 ideas to create the list of learning goals, concepts, objectives, or outcomes. And this list will be related to the specific outcome or outcomes desired for your particular discipline or course. Next, we would do the creating of the learning goals map. And it's key to hang a long piece of paper on the wall and draw a 2-column grid on the paper. We would enter each course or discipline title in the left column and add the corresponding learning goals in the right column. Then we'd move on to sharing these learning goals, and the steps would be explanation, identify commonalities, discussion, and clarification. So each teacher would explain their own ideas. Then the group would note common themes, ideas, competencies, and student outcomes. The group will openly discuss the ideas, ask questions, and request clarification if necessary. Finally, the group will clarify the common key learning goals. Next, we'll look at what learning goals should examine. Planning for an integrated curriculum begins with goals that take into consideration children's needs, interests, questions, prior knowledge, and experiences. The goals and the curriculum areas, as well as provincial standards and benchmarks, will guide the teacher's planning. The learning dimensions, including dispositions, skills, and knowledge, in each curriculum area also needs to be considered when designing projects, themes, or topics of study with the children. The learning goals should weave knowledge of the curriculum and the interests of children into the fabric of the classroom culture. Next, we'll look at ensuring a balance of experiences. So it is important to note that not all goals or curriculum areas can be emphasized equally in every project, theme, or topic of study. However, the teacher ensures that a balance of experience related to the goals and curriculum areas of the program is achieved over the course of the year. Throughout the year, at the conclusion of each project, theme, or topic, this balance is considered as part of ongoing evaluation and planning. Next, we'll look at teachers' input and experiences. Just as children's wonder and joy drives their learning, so can the teacher's interest and enthusiasm. Children need to see their teachers as learners and as human beings. The teacher's willingness to share what he or she values shows the children that learning is a lifelong activity and that their teacher is a person who thinks and feels and cares. In long-range planning, teachers need to ask, how can I use my interests and talents to enhance learning and still incorporate the children's interests? What contributions can I make by sharing? Such sharing may include personal culture, love of literature, experiences with writing, interest in sciences, recreational activities, interest in talent and fine arts, or an inquiring attitude. Now we'll look at the importance of relevance and engaging nature of learning goals. When thinking of learning goals, teachers must ensure that scenarios will engage the students. Through the scenarios, the students need to see a real-life application of the academic and technical knowledge and skills they will be mastering and applying. The goals of a program should advocate for learning experiences which are relevant, purposeful, and worthwhile. If experiences are to engage children, they need to be shaped by children's interest and enthusiasm. This means choosing themes, topics, projects, or areas of study based on the knowledge children have and constructing a plan which is driven by the children's curiosity. Next, we'll look at the importance of long-term plans. The teacher's responsibility is to construct goals which will provide the scope and depth necessary to ensure a valuable educational experience for all children. To provide direction and balance, a teacher needs to make long-range or yearly goals which can be reviewed and adjusted throughout the year. A long-term goal should consider both the children's and the teacher's strengths and interests, provincial standards and benchmarks, assessment and evaluation, and school and community resources. Now we'll talk about circling back. So as the teacher plans appropriate learning experience, it becomes obvious that not all curriculum content can be explored in an integrated way. Once the concept is understood, though, it could subsequently be integrated into other activities and its connections in the real world highlighted. Finally, an integrated curriculum provides a framework through which provincial standards and benchmarks can be met. For this reason, the teacher has the standards and benchmarks firmly in mind when planning the learning goals for the theme or project. Planning work should begin by stating the standards and benchmarks being addressed. The strength lies in the standards and benchmarks being met in a meaningful, real-world, applied way rather than in a contrived, artificial context. When learning is meaningful, the learner is able to transfer the learning to a new situation. The type of learning that occurs through integration also fosters the development of lifelong skills such as self-directedness, organization, problem-solving, communication, and self-assessment.
Integrated unit plans are all about making connections. Generative themes within integrated unit plans are the focal point. The connections that can be made are vast, and the generative themes that we find within integrated unit plans may include the integration of multiple subject areas, so multidisciplinary, links to the interests of the students in the classroom, links to the issues or themes within the school community, and links to real life. What is happening in our local and global community today? Let's look at these 4 areas more closely. Multidisciplinary integration. We see the multidisciplinary approach when multiple subject areas are connected together and integrated within one theme. The theme carries forward through the teaching in more than one subject, creating a holistic learning environment across curriculum areas. The image on this slide paints a picture of how many different curriculum areas can connect to a theme. As educators, we are not limited to how many connections we are making. For example, if we look at Remembrance Day as an integrated unit plan, this could include a number of connections. Let's look at 3. Through social studies, with inquiry, stories, learning about the history of Remembrance Day. Through English language arts, with writing poems about poppies, completing journal reflections, or reading stories together as a class. And through arts education, with visual art projects, drama, and music. It's one common theme being explored across subject areas. Student interests in the classroom. As teachers get to know their students in the classroom and student interests, it is important to honor the areas that students would like to engage in more inquiry around. For example, if a significant group of students are interested in space science, student engagement in all subject areas will be higher if an integrated unit plan is developed from this interest area. As a teacher, it is important to imagine and plan for integration across subject areas to support student learning and inquiry, and also to support the meeting of learning goals as outlined in the BC curriculum. An example of what this may look like for an integrated unit plan on space science. In science, students will be learning many of the aspects of space and maybe completing inquiry projects. In arts education, students could be creating visual art projects connected to the theme. Math could include lessons on measurement of time and distance using examples within space. Applied design skills and technologies. You could tie in the use of technology for inquiry and research for different presentations and projects. You could add in career education, What are the careers that can be learned about that connect to space? And in English language arts, you have a vast number of pieces that you could complete. Reading, writing, poetry, space-themed vocabulary and grammar lessons. The idea is, when we teach to student interest areas, the engagement of our students increase. Issues or themes within the school community. At times, a school, or a division within a school, may commit to a theme to focus on together as a learning community. These themes may be broad, like kindness, or more specific, like reconciliation, or the salmon run. When a theme is present within the school, learning can be extended when, as teachers, we connect that theme through integrated unit plans within our classrooms. This, too, creates holistic learning that extends from our classrooms into our school community. Real-life connections. Sometimes referred to as a transdisciplinary approach, connecting student learning beyond the curriculum and into what is happening in the world around them takes student learning outside of the classroom. Through this lens of integrated unit planning, students are engaging in a local or global problem, current event, or area of interest. These units may span to include some of the following: multiple subject areas, project-based learning, place-based learning, life skills, real-world context and inquiry. Through the subject areas, teachers may be able to engage students in opportunities outside of the classroom to participate and learn within the wider community in areas that connect to the generative theme. When students make connections between multiple subject areas in the midst of their project or place-based learning, students have the time to engage in inquiry around real-life problems and present-day current events, which connect them as citizens of the society today and into the future. This learning has the potential to connect students into conversations, leadership, and action within their homes and community.
Generate integrated projects and discipline-specific activities. Review your learning goals, generative theme, and essential questions. Brainstorm some of the integrated project ideas for students to help fulfill these goals and questions. Think of activities that involve community services, businesses, and families. Choose which activities should go in the beginning, midpoint, and end of the unit. Think of activities and projects for your classroom that relate to the chosen generative theme and the integrated project. Please consider some of the following components: HTH Learning Areas, Habits of Mind, the BC Curriculum website, all materials, equipment, resources that you will need, the different assessment strategies you can use. Discuss activities that you've thought of with your team and get advice and feedback. Find projects that link two or more academic or technical areas. New standards. Community connections. Compile a list and contact ahead of time a few of the community resources, such as local professionals, businesses, organizations, or libraries. Confirm they are able to assist students in their research and project activities. Consider who would be a valuable member of your expert panel of local professionals with experience related to your chosen theme. Ask panelists to assist in reviewing students' work. Establish a network of critical friends, including colleagues from your school, from other schools, who can offer feedback on curriculum development and activities for you. Try to consult with local Indigenous groups whenever possible. Next, create a diagram. You'll see the diagram that I am speaking of on the next slide. Add all of your relevant information into the diagram. Drawing connections where appropriate, core learning goals, generative theme, integrated projects, and discipline-specific activities. Share the diagram with others to generate new connections and new project ideas. Discuss ways that this unit will include community supports and resources. Further develop the beginning, midpoint, and ending activities. Reflect on your generative theme. Is it focused enough? Is it too focused? Will students find it meaningful and attainable? Where is there room for student input? How can the community be involved? How will it fit into various content standards? This is the diagram I spoke of in the previous slide. I've added the headings so that you know where to add all of your information. Please note that all of the areas are interconnected and build off of each other. That it's all put together and you can timeline which is next. Make a timeline. Decide on final activities. Hang a large piece of paper on the wall and create a timeline. Start coordinating times and dates for each activity. Determine how much prep time will be needed for the midpoint and ending activities. Book your community resource presenters and/or expert panel ahead of time. Sample ideas for integrated projects. Hold a school fair with presentations and visual displays. Create a website that focuses on your chosen theme. Hold a theme day event. Create songs, dances, plays, and games that go farther with your topic. Run a campaign in the neighborhood. Hold a whole school event where students and teachers learn about your project. Analyze the impact of specific technologies on elements of your project. Create a data bank of information related to your topic. Plan and paint a mural that brings awareness to your topic. Hold a family dinner that has displays and information booths about your topic all around the gymnasium. Some examples of discipline-specific projects and activities. For English language arts, you could create presentations or brochures to teach the community about your project. Read and discuss age-appropriate themed related books. Write a persuasive essay or letter. Write and produce a play that relates to your chosen theme. For mathematics, you could track and graph changes over time, survey other students' attitudes towards themed issues, compile and draw conclusions from the data. Social studies, you could hold a debate, interview experts and/or family members on their views of your topic, research and discuss the current administration policies towards the related topic of your unit and compare them to previous administrations. Visit and interview groups that work with certain aspects of your topic. For career education, you could interview local community leaders, design and market the students' projects. For science, you could study topic areas and its effects on the local environments, investigate and report on information gathered, interview health professionals, scientists, engineers, and record it for supporting evidence. For languages, you could translate some of the vocabulary or terms from your topic to the local indigenous language and/or the second language in your school. With help from local elders, create a theme-based brochure for students in another language. For ADST or computer studies, you could build a website with information related to your topic. Surf the internet to create a resource booklet and/or website on agencies and resources others can look up for more information from your theme. Create a spreadsheet that calculates something about your topic over a span of years.
During this next step, step 4, we're going to evaluate the integrated unit. So teachers can use questions to reflect on the unit, looking back at identifying learning goals. So what do you want the students to learn and retain? Are the students active participants in the learning? And what do you want the students to be able to do? Then determine acceptable evidence. How will you know if the information being taught was grasped? How will you assess the students' understanding of the learning? And then develop a web of learning experiences to help with what you want the students to be learning. So this doesn't necessarily need to be done in this particular order, but with this point, you want to be looking at overlapping skills and concepts. Capturing students' metacognition by considering average, above average, and below average in achievement with the disciplines that affect each other. Learning increases when presented in patterns within the interdisciplinary topics taught. So teachers can ask the following questions. Number 1, what links did you make with among the subject areas? 2, what links did you make with the community? 3, in your view, what aspects of the integrated unit engaged and inspired the students? Number 4, how effectively did your unit incorporate the HTH learning areas and habits of mind? So the design principles of personalization, adult world connections, and common intellectual mission. So taking a look at the mindset, cooperation and teamwork, agreement on core learning goals, risk-taking and flexibility. Number 5, what would you do differently the next time? Number 6, what ideas and suggestions do you have for improving the integrated unit process? Number 7, thinking back, what 2 or 3 moments in the integrated unit process stand out for you and why? And number 8, in what ways did your integrated unit team work well together? What were the biggest challenges? Student integrated unit evaluation. Use the questions below to reflect on your integrated unit. Number 1, what links did you make with among the subject areas? So are the students getting the connections between the subjects that you're presenting? Are they understanding how they cross-connect? Number 2, what links did you make with the community? So this can be your classroom community or your local community. Number 3, in your view, what aspects of the integrated unit engaged and inspired the students? So once you've presented the actual unit, you would gain this information, and this can help you for planning your next unit or tweaking this unit. Number 4, how effectively did your unit incorporate the HTH learning areas and habits of mind? So again, the design principles of personalization, adult world connections, and common intellectual mission. Number 5, what would you do differently the next time? So this is something that you can actually do once you've presented the unit to your classroom. So you can always go back and tweak your units. You might be using them in the future. So this is a good area to focus on to determine whether or not it was successful, if there's anything that you could have done differently to strengthen it. Number 6, what ideas and suggestions do you have for improving the integrated unit process? So during the planning stage, before actually presenting it to the classroom, what could you have done to maybe make this go a little bit smoother if you've encountered any hiccups? Number 7, thinking back, what 2 or 3 moments in the integrated unit process stand out for you and why? Number 8, in what ways did your integrated unit team work well together? What were the biggest challenges? So this brings us into the next section of the presentation. Before moving on, I'd like to take a look at considerations. So what's the purpose of assessment? What are you looking for? Is it going to be for, as, and of learning? So you really want to try to focus on all of these things during the entire unit. So you're going to be including them all in there, but just paying attention to what the purposes are. So assessment can be done as self-assessment, peer, teacher instruction, rubric tracking, record keeping. So how are you going to be doing these things? Are you going to be doing it through checklists, quizzes, journals, through observations, and so on? So paying attention to what you'll be using to capture and how you will capture the results in progress. What are you assessing for? Is it participation, understanding, completion?
Hi everyone, I'm Ian and I will be discussing collaboration with colleagues and benefits in our presentation. First off, collaborating with colleagues is a very important part of integrated unit planning. It allows you to bring unique perspectives and ideas into your planning. The more people, the more ideas you can have. The first thing you should do is gather with your colleagues and discover where your common learning goals are for your students. Once you're there, you can get together and maybe create themes, ideas, competencies, and student outcomes. Sort of brainstorm and draw on each individual's past experiences and knowledge to create more diverse goal for your students. Remember, you can also create a generative theme for the entire school, which could be kind of fun for everyone to be engaged with. Benefits of colleague collaboration. Working with others and getting to know your community is always a positive aspect for school development. Another one is professional dialogue with your colleagues. When you discuss different teaching methods and different methodology with your colleagues, you yourself and they can grow together. Meeting with your colleagues establishes an avenue for cross-discipline collaboration. We all share diverse interests and past knowledge. Together with your colleagues, we can draw on that together and have more diverse and interesting curriculum for our children. Meeting with colleagues encourages strong team building and camaraderie. By having strong team building and camaraderie within a school, you have more engaged teachers who enjoy being there and enjoy the other staff members. It facilitates teacher collaboration and sharing the workload. First-year teachers often burn out as they feel they need to do everything, whereas if you collaborate with your colleagues, you can share the workload and there will be less teacher burnout. Another positive aspect is it encourages personal and professional growth by learning new skills and perspectives. By learning from our colleagues, we determine what we don't know and what we need to grow. By collaborating with outside professionals, we can create an engaging lesson plan for our students to learn from. First, you need to identify the relevant stakeholders that relate to your topic. This may include businesses, industry professionals, educators, universities, organizations. The list can be quite diverse. You can also have people who have competing views if that's relevant, and it may be very engaging to hear from different ideas and perspectives for the students. Then the next step is to invite and reach out to these relevant stakeholders. Each stakeholder may or may not be engaged with the program and may or may not have time available for you. Now, each stakeholder can then be engaged with how much they feel they would like to participate. It's important not to push them or to make them feel uncomfortable, as another class may wish to engage with them at a later date. Stakeholders may include doing job shadows, interviews, just coming to the school and speaking. They could be an expert panel for a science project, or it could be an awesome field trip for the kids to experience an organization or resource.
Hello, this is April. My section was to find 4 excellent resources. And the first one I found was on the Edutopia website on integrated studies. It has a lot of great articles on integrated units, discover innovations and best practices for combining multiple academic subjects to prepare students for a world where all knowledge is integrated. The second resource I found was on the Open School website, and it's an excellent integrated social studies and science unit plan. This is by far my favorite resource I found. It's just a really, really excellent integrated unit plan, and I highly recommend checking it out. The topic of the resource is the seasonal rounds in the 4 geographic regions of BC through the perspective of Indigenous or First Nations groups, past and present, who live in these regions. The resource consists of the unit itself, as well as Blackline Masters, tools, rubrics, downloadable documents, and the website, which both teachers and students can use. It's really great. I highly recommend checking it out. The third resource I found was Teachers Pay Teachers. They have a ton of free integrated unit plans. I did a search and found 711 free integrated unit plans. It's available for all grades. It is American, so you have to kind of sift through some of the content, but really, really great ideas. I love to look there for inspiration or to copy some of the integrated unit plans that are already there. Designing an integrated unit plan can seem really overwhelming. The fourth resource I found is on teachingideasforyou.com, and it's how to develop an integrated curriculum unit. So it's a breakdown of 10 steps. The first one, connect with other teachers and industry professionals to identify authentic connections between disciplines. The second, examine the existing scope and sequence of the classes to find standards that fit together or overlap. Number 3, select an overarching topic or theme. 4, create your essential questions and identify key questions. Number 5, identify and assign roles and responsibilities for each team member in charge of creating the curriculum. 6, revisit your curriculum map and make any sequencing adjustments needed. Number 7, plan how you will introduce the unit, so creating a hook. Number 8, create student assessments, including both formative and summative ones. Number 9, create lesson plans for the unit. And 10, re-evaluate the unit. I found the breakdown really helpful, and she goes into detail for each of these. So overall, Number 9, create lesson plans for the unit. And 10, re-evaluate the unit. I found the breakdown really helpful, and she goes into detail for each of these. So overall, this is a really great resource, and she also has some examples of integrated unit plans and other resources on her website. So this is a really great resource for me.
Rather than concluding by reviewing the whole presentation, I'd like to take a ticket out approach to conclude. For this, I'd like each of you to create a journal entry. Now, of course, there is no one going to be checking your work, so it's just a little something for you to reflect on your own learning. The task I'm going to present to you is for you to jot down 3 things from the presentation that were new learning for you. Then, I'd like you to think of an integrated unit plan idea that you yourself might plan. Come up with a common theme and use this to create a mapping web to brainstorm connecting subject areas, community links, and links to potential student interests. You can save this webbing map to use later on in your planning and teaching.